The New Yorker was just basically making fun of the entire case, just kind of this, revelry in white trash, right? This is the most absurd, insane, and inane case ever, right? A witchcraft case in the late 80s or whatever. How salacious and how vivid, and how perfectly, it really came out kind of on the heels of, I remember watching a film called The River in New York, and it was, this kind of, looking into, the heart of, what is going on in the heart of America that's just diabolical and weird. And it was just funny that was such a big movie in New York at the time, The River. So this really kind of fell on the heels of that, of, like Woody Allen being afraid to go to the Midwest, right? The whole Clutter family, what's going on out there. And like I said, it was really heavily made fun of. And the man actually went to jail, Ingram. And it was called the Ingram rabies case. There was a deputy involved who was not charged, named Rabies. And some of the accusations were like really bizarre. And he never went against the accusations. He just said, whatever, if this is being leveled against me, it must be true. So that was like totally strange. When I came here, I actually did go down to the courthouse to read it myself, and saw just how strange it was, because it really wasn't funny. And I realized, that the New Yorker person had somehow, they just thought the whole thing was a joke. And it wasn't a joke. This is actually quite real. And it's hard when you think that something is just so over the top. How can there be like this satanic church in Olympia, that's pretending to be Christian or whatever, and, doing horrible things up at Fort Lewis at night. But in reading it, you really do see that, these people really are practicing some pretty abhorrent things. And like I said, this was the sheriff. This was the Church of the Living Waters guy. This wasn't, the derelict homeless kids, or, whatever it is you would expect that to be. And that kind of leads me to, once again, I was talking about Adam Parfrey coming down here, and actually I first had met Alex Constantine, who'd come up, and he had written a fabulous book with what I had thought at the time was just the most amazing title, Psychic Dictatorship. And I read that back in the early 90s, and it was just this very stark book. It was not sugar-coated in any way, shape, or form, and really, touched upon a lot of these things. And when I did meet Alex, he said, I was just a regular old journalist. He had worked in Akron, Ohio. He was from Toledo, and he was just, a journalist on the regular beat in Akron. And one summer there was a bizarro satanic murder. By the way, I just saw a horrible thing where a horse's tongue was cut out of its mouth. It was in the Daily O, and it was just really, 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 really horrific. And there was something else horrific too in the Daily O. So, there'd been this ritualistic murder of some poor homeless man in the woods outside of Akron, and the person who usually covered that particular beat was on a really long hiatus. So they asked if Alex would go and find out more about this this murder, this satanic murder, and I believe they may have caught the murderers on that, and it was kids. In fact, we just drove by a place where my best friend at one time, David George, was murdered by Satanists here, and they were young, and they dismembered him and put his body parts in different parts all over town, but a huge part of him was found in a really nice house up at the Capitol where the people were away on holiday. So, so they had this story, and the editor asked Alex if he would flesh out the story a little more. He said, people are very concerned, they're upset about this murder, and they want to know, is it just, is it just a couple of these kids? How big is the satanic network, right? How big is it? And they really wanted to know that. So he started to dig, to find out who are the friends of these kids, who do they know, are there any sort of groups that meet, what sort of things do they do, what led this whole horrific murder to happen in the first place. And as he kept digging and meeting more people, and he was sort of kind of going up the ranks, as it were, into this satanic society. And at the end, it turned out that it was run by a really high up guy, right, who was part of the Bechtel Corporation, right? And all these little high school kids were just at the bottom doing their bidding. And it was just like, wow. So that was really his introduction into all of this. We all have our different aha moments, unless we were sort of, just completely raised in this. Oh, do you want to cross? I'll let her cross. There is a nice lady with a sweet doggie about to cross on this beautiful morning. Good for them. It's like a great day. It's so fun to come out and just experience a beautiful sunrise. And so then he suddenly realized, oh my God, this is actually real. Here I've got this connection between the head of Bechtel and this homeless person and these crazy Satanists. That is kind of, what was going on with this story. They didn't really have a body. It was more about abuse, and it was really creepy. There was like some kind of poker night where all the deputies would go and rape everyone in the household, like every Wednesday night on poker night. This is really, really, really freaky. Once again, there's that huge crane. I still don't know why this is called public. This is just all stuff from China, Chinese. I didn't tell anyone this, but the other night I had a weird dream about these flags. I was dreaming about how did they come about, who first made them, who first made those flags, who's getting rich off of them. And in my dream, it was so weird. I was like asleep, and I was dreaming about this man in China named Han. And Han had made American flags for years and sent them over, and then had gotten an order. There's a cool boat, huh? Do you like that red boat over there? Sorry, I just can't even face all those, huge forests that are going off to China right now. I had to cut it short and come around here. Once again, you see this fence. This is part of that Superfund site where all the creosotes and everything were dumped from the 20s to the 80s. In fact, that Hands-On Children's Museum is built on an actual toxic waste site. And No one likes to fess up to it. The farmer's market we drove by, all of this area, up until just a couple of years ago, was all sumps for the creosote, the pentachlorophenol, and everything that, I hate the word treated. I don't know that, I guess that's the word they use, that treated telephone poles so they wouldn't rot and get eaten away by woodpeckers or whatever happens to telephone poles. So yeah, Sandy Mackey was an environmental teacher at Evergreen who ended up going to the other side. He was like this Darth Vader guy and just said, oh, just pave over it, it'll be fine. And so some of this is still on the registry. If you look at like national EPA stuff, this will all be listed as a Superfund site, especially where people get their water at that crazy well. And I've tried to do some videos on it and people chase me away, bald people who say they're drinking there to cure their cancer, and it's like it's giving them the cancer, right? It's like really nutty. So here we've got our little group down here, and they are just waking up with their blankies and everything. So we've got like a little kind of tent city thing kind of going on down here. I'm sure that they're all locals. I'm sure they're not the rich Mercedes driving Pakistanis we see that work in the Obama building. And this area is just so very sad. This is a new bus station. Someone got paid a lot of money for designing it, and the first rule of order was to make it as uncomfortable as possible. Everything's just outdoors, and it's just interesting what they do with our money, isn't it? Looks like I can cross here. So yeah, so Alex, you know, he kind of left town after he saw what was going on there, and wrote Psychic Dictatorship, and, you know, the rest is kind of history, I think, at this point, with YouTube and everyone kind of coming out of the woodwork and saying this is real and we have had enough. There's King Solomon's, also known as Sleazy Saul's. It looks like that, did that Ambassador Club get taken away? Oh, so I was doing my little short story, sorry, my dream about these flags that I see everywhere, right? These gay flags. So Han ended up manufacturing millions, and I have like a financial jealousy of Han, who is selling all the gay flags and making like a cajillion dollars. Good morning, Seagull. Making a cajillion dollars off of it. And I think he really wants to, and I think that he probably is homophobic, right? Is that the term that they like to use? He probably absolutely is very traditional and, you know, is just selling them to make the money. And then he has kind of a bigger plan. So yeah, who is manufacturing the flags? It probably is some guy from China who thinks that these people are whacked and he's gonna make his billions and then, you know, pounce on them all at some point. I just feel that, you know, it's just weird. Who's making the money off of all of these flags that everyone is forced to put up everywhere? It's so funny. So I think I did a bad job of it, but it was like a funny, strange dream of someone just cashing in on these weird desires, right, of these people who want everyone to have one of these flags or be shamed into having them. And yeah, this is the most disgusting gift shop ever. And it would be interesting to know who are the artists there. Who would feel the need to put their things there? I would boycott. I would have nothing to do with this building. What's coming soon here? Sage Flora Applex Exchange Com. Shall we take a look and see? Shall we just go and see what is going on in this place? No trespassing, surveillance. Isn't it interesting how they have surveillance for their evil? You know, talk about what is hell. The hell realm is so right here. These people really taught me what hell was. These abortionists, these state workers, these bears of sodomite flags. Yikes. Sorry, okay, oh wow, an apparel exchange. Oh right, let's just get apparel and just pretend like everything's wonderful while there's like horrible abortions going on upstairs. So, let's see what groups inquisitive art. Inquisitive art. That looks really so novel, so creative, so new. Aren't they just super super creative and talented here, huh? That they're gonna take your picture if you're gay, and aren't you special? And once again, come to Gallery Boom for fun and fortune. Once again, knowing that right up there are innocent lives being ripped from their mothers' hearts. Babies probably just trying to hold on for dear life. Trying to hold on for dear life. To be born. Just to be born. Really, really shameful. Really, really pathetic. So, you know, this is what's happened. You know, this is what they've shown us and what they've done. They've just taken and gutted everything. I love Planned Parenthood. Why can't they love life? Why can't they love goodness? You know, if you do, you're run out of this town. You are run out of this town. Have a good morning.